three issues that people struggle with when they're pitching. Issue number one, think about the position of your left wrist relative to the club face. This coincides with people that hit shots really low, we dig the edge into the ground, the ball launches quite low and we don't generate a lot of spin. Issue number one, when you swing the club back, if you think left hand go straight down towards the ground, whatever we do with the position of left wrist is going to affect the orientation of the club face. So if my left wrist gets in a relatively flat position, depending on your grip type, the club face is going to stay pretty neutral. We're doing this based on a pretty neutral grip, and we're working on that flat left wrist halfway back. So if you've got a relatively neutral grip, and then your left wrist gets in a relatively flat position, that club face in a square position. Where people struggle with the opposite left hand goes straight down towards the ground in a flexed or slightly bowed position. The club face is always going to be a little bit more closed. The time that the knuckles go down towards the ground, that club face is going to get a little bit closed. So you can see the grooves of the club face start to turn down towards the ground. The toe of the club is closer to the ground. Because the club face is closed in the backswing, because of the knuckles going straight down towards the ground, we're going to have to find that loft as the club gets back into impact. So if you struggle with the ball launching low, then the first thing you need to understand is what is the club face not doing in the backswing that's going to influence you coming in to impact. So stage one, you need to understand what the left wrist needs to do to add a little bit more loft. As soon as the knuckles, the left hand go down towards the ground, club face gets a little bit closed. As you can see from there, right palm gets too much on top of the club. Great if you hit an iron shot, not so good if you want to hit that high, soft, floaty shot that stops nice and quickly on the green. So as you look up back, the knuckles of the left hand go straight down towards the ground. Right hand's too much on top of left hand. Club face gets a little bit closed. Then as we come into impact, if you struggle with thins, tops, and the club predominantly hitting the ground for impact, because the club face is relatively closed, we're going to have to add that loft in through impact. So if you see an impact position where your weight starts to back up, left shoulder starts to rise, right shoulder goes down too quickly, so the extension of the chest happens pre-impact. First thing you need to address is the position of the club face. So club face gets really closed, then we've got to add the loft in through impact. We start to stand up through the shot, release the club nice and early. So if you're this golfer, you feel like we're allowing the back of the left wrist to face the sky a little bit early. If you're still struggling with that analogy, knuckles, your left hand back towards your left wrist, so we're closing that angle up between the knuckles and the wrist. If I start to bow that down, with the knuckles and the left wrist go down towards the ground, angle starts to decrease. So swing it back, knuckles of the left hand towards the wrist, knuckles of the left hand towards the sky. That's a good feeling. Or knuckles of the left hand towards your body line. Automatically that's going to allow that club face to open. Send the knuckles towards the ground, allow the knuckles of the left hand to start facing the sky a little bit earlier. So knuckles of the left hand towards the sky. As you can see from there, the knuckles get closer to the wrist angle. That's going to add bounce, it's also going to add loft. But then as we come into impact, that's going to allow us to create a little bit more loft at impact. So stage two, as you come through impact, first thing we need to understand is making sure the club's got enough loft going back. Feel like you're taking the knuckles of your left hand and you're pushing it closer to the wrist angle. As you can see from there, the club face starts to open, we add loft, we add bounce, but also widen our margin for error if we want to hit a higher shot, but also create a little bit more spin. So stage two, as you come through impact, we want to feel like the left shoulder doesn't rise too quickly, sternum gets too far behind the golf ball. Stage two, we want to feel like as we come through impact, we want to feel our shoulders stay relatively level through impact. If you struggle with pitching, the alignment stick points behind the golf ball impact, so left shoulder starts to rise, it's not fully opened up. What you're trying to do is you're going to try and take the tip of this alignment stick and you're going to point it towards the target or your intended target that you're trying to hit a shot towards. So tip of the alignment stick towards your target, that left shoulder moving up and back is going to allow the chest to face forward, but also we want to feel like the shoulder, or the left shoulder, stays down a little bit longer through the hitting area, and after impact that alignment stick is going to work up. So left shoulder starts to work up and back as we connect the club with the golf ball. So left shoulder stays down by the time we get into impact, then it starts to work up and back as the club head strikes the ground. So address shoulders are relatively level. I want to feel like I sit a little bit more into the left side, so weight is positioned onto the left side. Sternum is ahead of the golf ball, that's going to allow me to hit the golf ball first, and it's also going to allow me to control the low point. So left shoulder to work up and back, and we feel like the grip end of the club works up and left through impact. That's going to allow us to allow the back edge of the club to interact with the ground. So as opposed to the left shoulder working down the left, to allow the chest doesn't extend through impact. We want to feel like instead of keeping the chest down towards the ground, we want to feel like the left shoulder works up and back through impact. That's going to allow the weight to stay on the left foot, but also the chest starts to extend towards the sky to add rotation and the chest through impact. So I feel like I'm looking over my left shoulder as I hit the golf ball, so I feel like I'm looking over my left shoulder. You feel his left shoulder working up and back, left ear to almost feel like it gravitates towards your left shoulder. So you're trying to rotate your left ear back towards your left shoulder. All your weight's going to be positioned into your left foot. So if you struggle with pitching, there's 3 faults that I see in a regular occurrence, which is plaguing your ability to add loft through impact and also improve your probability to strike. First thing, we need to get the club face in order. Instead of club face being really closed, club face needs to feel a little bit more open. So as you swing the club back, feel the knuckles, the left hand to point towards the sky, right palm to the sky. If you're still struggling with that feeling of takeaway, that's going to add bounce, going to add loft. Place the limit stick down the shaft of the golf club. As you release the club, the grip end of the club doesn't work too far away from your left hip. The feeling from here, if you want to release the club head a little bit earlier, bend the club, and the limit stick are working back towards your left hip. So I feel like the club head starts to overtake the hands, and a good way to achieve the shoulder to work up and back, head to rotate. So I feel like my left ear is rotating back towards my left shoulder. That's going to allow my eyes to face forward, it's going to allow my chest to face forward, but it's also going to allow me to open up through impact and maintain the loft on that club face. So if you struggle with keeping the loft on the club, as you release the club, think about right palm to the sky. That's going to keep the heel higher than the toe, and it's going to allow the club face to point towards the sky. So any content you'd like to see on my channel, or any department of the game, please feel free to comment below with anything you'd like to see.